محمد وآل محمد الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وظل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العسام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا يجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته وكم من عثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرط بي سوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أملي. وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أهواه وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك وخالفت بعد أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك، وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا نتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك أضري وإدخالك إياي في سعة رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شدي وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي، يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته أو تعبد من أدنيت أو تشرد من آويت أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه قرت لعظمتك الساجدة وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك الصادقة وبشكرك ماحدحا وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنا. ما هكذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم. يا رب وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثوه يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض يا سيدي. فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها أذج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك، وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك. أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك، فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم الصادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لاذجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يعمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانا؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا ربا؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك، ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين يقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك، وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما. لكنك تقدست أسماؤك، أقسمت أن تملاها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا، وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها، وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها، وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته، وكل ذنب أذنبته، وكل قبيح أسررت، وكل جهل عملت، كتمته أو أعلنت، أخفيته أو أظهرت، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني، وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم، والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت، أو إحسان فضلت، أو بر نشرت، أو رزق بسطت، أو ذنب تغفر، أو خطأ تستر. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا، وبخدمتك موصولا، وأعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قو على خدمتك جوارحي، واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في البارزين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرد، ومن كادني فكد، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني أثرتي، واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة، فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي، يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء، يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى، ارحم من راس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء، يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقام، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بما أنت أهله، وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
Thank you so much, Brother Muhammad Khadibah, for that beautiful recitation. We really appreciate, and we pray on this Thursday night for all the mu'mineen and every single one of you who have, especially all of you who have joined us for the last few days. Inshallah, tomorrow we will be going back to the 7:30 slot. So just wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow's session will be from 7:30 up until 11. Without further ado, I would like to invite Sayyid Bilal to come and can take the pulpit, but inshallah to come and start the speech. Please recite a salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Before we begin the discussion, there was one question from yesterday. And that question was in regards to a statement of Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha. When the Imam says, وَكَمَالُ الْإِخْلَاسِ لَهُ نَفْيُ الصِّفَاتِ عَنْهُ. There was a brother who asked a question, does this mean that Allah does not have attributes or his attributes are the same as his essence? We said that in the Shia theological view, the attributes of God are a part of his essence. Because if you say his essence is one thing and him being Rahman and being Alim is another, then there is a form of separation which is created, so his attributes emanate from his essence. So with that said, today we have a limited amount of time and there's much to cover. So there's parts of the pamphlet which I've prepared that I'll skip, and I'll try to examine those parts which are the most necessary for us to understand this argument for the existence of God. And this argument is based on rationality. As I said yesterday, many of the atheists of today, they say that religion has no rational basis. They say religion is a matter of faith. So these are all points to keep in mind as we examine that. Yesterday, I began to examine the qualities of Allah, of Wajibul Wujud. I said the first quality is that the necessary existent, Allah He cannot be necessary in himself and because of others. That is like saying that Allah is there necessarily by definition of being Allah, but at the same time, Allah needs other beings to exist. So this is a contradiction. Yesterday, and then I said the existence of God and his necessity are not separate. You know, his existence is a part of his essence. His existence and his necessity are part of his definition and nature. Third, we said God is not compound. And fourth, we said God is not a part of anything other than himself. The fifth quality of Wajibul Wujud of Allah is that there cannot be two mandatory beings in themselves. There cannot be two creators. Now, this is something which people may ask practically, is there anyone in the world who believes this? You know, one may point towards Zoroastrianism, but at the same time, you find that there are many doctrines of Christianity which say that Jesus, God, and the Spirit are equally God, and they are a number of three. So this is problematic at a number of levels. And over here, I'd like to quote a hadith of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Imam al-Sadiq, there is a man who said to Imam al-Sadiq, he came and he began to discuss with the Imam. The Imam said, your statement that they are two gods, can only mean one of three things. Either that both of them are eternal and powerful, or they're both weak, or one of them is powerful and the other is weak. If they're both powerful, then why doesn't one of them take over the other and manage the universe by himself? And if you think that one of them is powerful and the other is weak, then it is settled that he is one because of the manifest weakness of the other. And then Imam Sadiq, he presents different, arguments as to why God cannot be multiple. I don't have time to go into each of these arguments, but if you refer towards page number 10 of the pamphlet I prepared, there is one burhan, there is one piece of evidence which I will mention, which is found from the hadith of the Imam, before going on to the next part. The Imam, he presents something which is called the argument from the gap, Burhan al-Furja. So basically in this hadith, Imam Sadiq presents three arguments as to why Allah cannot be more than one. The third of them states this, is that if there are two gods, there must be a barrier in between them. And that barrier needs to be eternal. Because if that barrier between the two gods was not eternal, then that means at one point they were the same. So Imam Sadiq says, this barrier also becomes a necessary being. This barrier also becomes the creator, so you have three gods. Now that you have three gods, they need a barrier, so you have 5 and 7 and onward. And the discussions I mentioned in great depth, you can read them on your own time. So we've examined the 5 qualities of Allah, the necessary being in himself. Now there are 3 qualities of mumkin al-wujud, of contingent beings. And to remind you what a contingent being is, a contingent being is that being whose existence depends on something else. In its nature, it can exist, it cannot exist. You and I, in our nature, there is nothing in the nature of human being that makes it wajib for humans to exist. So the first quality of mumkin al-wujud, of a contingent being, is that its relation to existence and non-existence is the same. That it doesn't, by itself, it does not prefer existence, nor does it prefer non-existence. But rather there is an outside factor which pushes it towards existence or pushes it towards non-existence. For example, in our nature, us as human beings, we don't need to exist by definition. But that outside factor is that when the cause for our creation is there, we go towards existence. And if anyone has questions, once again, this is a dialogue, this is a discussion. You can ask on the chat, you can interrupt me and ask the questions. The floor is open for these different discussions. So this is the point to remember. Because if you say that mumkin al-wujud, the contingent being, prefers one side, that, for example, it prefers existence, then you ask the question, can non-existence occur? If you say non-existence can't occur, then its existence becomes necessary. So this is one point. The second point about mumkin al-wujud is that mumkin al-wujud needs an originator. It needs a cause. It is only Allah who is sufficient. But every other contingent being needs a cause. Either that cause is, either you say that it comes without a cause and it is just there, then this is a problem. Because this entails that it is coming into effect without a cause. You say the contingent being caused itself, this is problematic as well. And the third is that its causative factor is external, that there is something which needs to cause different existence to come into being. You and I, we need something that leads to our origination. We didn't always exist. So this is the second quality. And the third quality is that a contingent being needs a cause to subsist, a cause to remain. This is a very important point, because this point, it states that contingency is part of the nature of the contingent being. That, possibility is a part of our nature, and it remains a part of our nature. So the main point to take away is that the reason we need Allah is not just to create us. The example of Allah is not the example of a building, that a person, he builds a building, that person can pass away and the building can remain. No, at every level of existence, by our definition, we are contingent. By our definition, we need an originating factor. So as long as we are there, we need that originating factor, we need Allah. And I will give you one example to explain this. Oftentimes, when we think of cause and effect, something causing another thing and another thing causing another thing, we think in terms of time. That, for example, I'll give you an example of this. When somebody kills a fly within the room, that fly is killed because of the fly swatter. But what caused the fly swatter to move was the flick of the wrist. What caused the wrist to move was the firing of neurons. What caused the firing of those neurons was an annoyance that the person had because the fly was in the room. And in this way, you find you have a linear series in terms of time, one thing after another. Now, in the real world, an actual infinite cannot exist. And I'll mention this point later on. But you can say hypothetically that you can have a chain which is going, some have said hypothetically, even though this is incorrect. But the more proper example for Allah is not one thing after another in time, that this caused this, this caused this, this caused this. No, a more better example is, imagine on my table there is a cup. That cup is held up by the table. This table is held up by the floor of my house. The floor of my house is held up by the foundation in my house. There can never be a time where that foundation is not there, yet the cup, it remains in its spot. So the point is that the reason we need an originating cause is not just to create us, but to survive, to subsist, to exist at every moment. In the way this cup on a table needs the foundation, we need a foundation which is uncaused, but it has the ability to give life and existence and cause others. So that is the fundamental point. And now I will come towards the actual proof for the existence of God. Are there any questions at this point? If there are no questions, now we begin the crux of the discussion. There's many things I've left out to summarize, to simplify. We come to the crux of the discussion. And I won't read this text, but if you go to page 14, it begins the discussion. So there are 5 suppositions. There are 5 assumptions made in this proof for God. These 5 assumptions or what this proof it relies upon. The first assumption of this proof, that before you come to the proof, you need to know these things. The first is that you believe there is existence, that things, they exist. You know, there were people who said that, how do I know not everything is a dream? To this, some individuals replied by saying, practically, that if you hurt that person, if you burn that person, they'll feel pain. What this means is that, okay, if you say that this is a dream, it still is something. Nobody practically on the inside believes this. If you believe everything is a dream, then why do you go to work from 8 to 5? Why do you eat 3 times a day? Why do you support your family? Why do you avoid fire because it hurts you? So practically, self-evidently, we know that things, they exist. So this is the first assumption for this proof of God. The second is that all existence in the world, in this world, outside world, are wajibul wujud. And what this means is that everything in the world has come to exist. It has to exist. Either it is like Allah and it exists in its nature, or it exists because of a cause. But something that does not have a cause will not exist unless we are speaking of Allah. The third assumption that we make is that all of these necessary existence, either they are necessary in themselves or they're necessary because of others. Either you are like God, that the existence of God is necessary in itself, or you're like you and I. We are necessary, but we need a cause. We need something that brings us into existence. So this is the third assumption of the proof. The fourth assumption of the proof is that when you have a chain of mumkinat, when you have a chain of mumkinat, of contingent beings, you find that they need to end at the necessary being. If you say there is no necessary being, if you say everything in the world caused each other and there is no Allah, then there are two options. Either you will have a circle, a door, or you'll have an infinite regress. And as I will demonstrate, both of these are false. And this proof is based upon the Quranic concept found in chapter 41, verse 53. Is it not sufficient that your Lord is witness to all things? That Allah is a witness to existence. He is a witness to everything in that manner. So now we begin the discussion. And like I said, if there are any questions, I'll take those questions. But now we've examined enough of the prerequisites to actually begin to discuss this proof for the existence of God. So with that said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And if you're taking notes, this is something which will help you greatly. So suppose that we have an object in the universe. That object, we will call it object A. Suppose that we have this object A, and it's self-evident that there are things in this universe. We know in the outside world there are things. They exist. It is not a dream. And we have object A. We have one object. Now, either this object is the wajibul wujud. Either this object is the necessary being, and that is what we're looking for, end of discussion, because we're trying to establish the existence of God. Or this object is something which is mumkinul wujud. It is a contingent being. So you have object A in the outside world. You only have two options. Either this object A is Allah, the necessary being, and that ends the discussion. We prove the existence of God. Or it is a contingent being. A contingent being being a creation and existence which requires an originator. So now the question comes up, is that what is the cause of this contingent being? That what originated this contingent being? So if you say that object A is not Allah, then you must have object B which causes object A. Now, this object B, either this is wajibul wujud and it's Allah and this ends the discussion, or this is also a contingent being like you and I, so this will also need a creator, which is object C. Now, if I had a whiteboard with me, I would be able to draw this upon the board, but I'll repeat it one more time. that we have object A. If this is Allah, end of discussion, we prove the existence of God. If it's not Allah, then it needs another originator, which is object B. If this object B is Allah, end of discussion, we proved what we needed to prove. But if this object B is like human beings, which are contingent beings, which are not wajib for us to exist, then it needs an originator, and that is object C. Now, in this manner, either I can go infinitely. I can say object C needs object D, which needs object E. Or I can go in a circle. And what this means is that you say that object A was created by object B, but object B was created by object A. This is a circle. You're saying that one thing created itself. This rationally, it cannot make sense. And this is the first thing which I will attempt to disprove. So we see at this level, and if you turn to page 15, there are many points which goes to show within the Holy Quran that everything is dependent upon a necessary being. For example, chapter 2, verse 255 says, Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara'u ilallah. That just for existence, you stand in need of Allah, O human beings. At every stage of your life, you stand in need of Allah. So, either in terms of the external world, we have many different things. We have the sun, the moon, all of these different objects. Either all of them are wajibul wujud, all of them are necessary, and we examined already that the necessary being can't be two, or all of them are mumkinat. But if all of them are mumkinat and contingent beings like human beings, either we'll have an infinite regress or we will have circularity, or some of them are wajib, some of them are necessary, and some of them are contingent. So that is what we'll seek to demonstrate. So we need to examine that an infinite regress or a vicious circle is what is caused when there is no Allah. And the second thing which we need to show from this proof is that an infinite regress or a vicious circle is that which cannot come to being. So the first thing which I'll discuss is the impossibility of a circular cause of creation. What this means is that you say A created B, B created C, but C created A. So you are saying essentially that I'll give you another smaller example. You are saying that A made B, but at the same time, B made A. This is something which is problematic. So when we define circularity, all circularity means is that a thing is depending on itself for existence. A thing cannot depend on itself for existence. Whether this dependence is A creating B and B creating C and C creating A, or A creating B and B creating A. This is something which is problematic. And I will present the proof for why this is problematic. And at this stage, I want everyone to pay attention. If you have questions, please ask your questions. So this is what is happening. When we say that A created B and B created A, I'll begin the discussion. If we say that object A depends on object B, then this means that not only does object A depend on object B, but it depends on everything which object B depends on. If I am depending on something, for example, if I am saying that my father was the cause of my existence, then for me to exist, not only do I need a father, but I needed a grandfather who was the cause of the existence of my father. I can't just say that the only thing I need is a father for me to exist. No, there needs to be everything which my father depended on for existence, that I depend on also. So if we say that object A depends on object B for existence, this means that object A depends on object B and everything which object B depends on. But over here, we said that object A depends on B, yet object B depends on A. So, and we said that object A depends on everything which object B depends upon. So what this conclusion means is that object A depends on itself for existence. And why is this problematic? This means that object A is depending on itself, and that upon which something depends must precede that which depends upon it. When there is a cause, logically, that cause must come before the effect. That if I am relying on a cause, I cannot have the effect without that cause. It has to come before it. So I said now, because of this, object A is depending on itself. But hold up, object A needs to come before itself. And if we say object A needs to come before itself, then this means that object A is preceding itself, and the preceding object must come into existence first. So essentially, we are saying that object A is existing and not existing at the same time, and these are two contradictories, because either something exists or it does not exist. And this is the problem with a circular reasoning to the existence of Allah. Is there any points of discussion which anyone would like to add over here? If there's no points of discussion, if you look on page 17, I summarized this entire argument into 9 points. There are 9, there is a numbered list. I will read that list. Number 1, we said object A depends on object B, and all that which object B depends on. So it's like saying that, I depend on my father, but at the same time, my father depends on my grandfather. So indirectly, I depend on my grandfather. So object A depends... My apologies. All right, technical glitch. So number 1, we said object A depends on object B and all that which object B depends on. Number 2, we said object B depends on object A. Number 3, this entails that object A depends upon itself. Number 4, that which is dependent upon must precede that which depends on it. Number 5, this entails that object A precedes itself. Number 6, a preceding object must come into existence before the following object. That if there is a cause, the cause needs to come in before the effect. So this means that object A must come into existence before itself, and this leads to object A existing and non-existing at the same time. Since we suppose that it is existing, this is a logical and metaphysical contradiction, and it is impossible. So that concludes that a vicious circle, a circle of existence, is impossible. And over here, I'd like to hear your comments upon this discussion for the 13 of you who are part of the Zoom, who can interact. If there's any thoughts that you can add on this point, the floor is open to you all.
I think at this point, the Trinity concept is out the door.
The Trinity concept is out the door. Yeah, so that was in reference to God can't be more than one. But I think it's pretty evident that, most people understand that A can't create B, but B is creating A at the same time. I don't think this is a major challenge in today's world. What is a major challenge to many people is to deal with the next part, which is the impossibility of an infinite regress. Because oftentimes today, the atheists say that, there is an infinite chain of cause and effect. And as I said, you need to remember that we are not looking in time. We are looking as the example of a coffee cup on the table. The coffee cup on the table needs a foundation that holds it up, whereas something in time, they say can go forever. But nobody can say that this cup over here can be upon the table, yet the ground underneath is infinite. And there are no actual infinites in the actual world. Those of you who have studied calculus, you know this, but that is a side discussion. So now I will present what Allam al-Hilli says about the impossibility of an infinite regress. It is 10:20 right now. Sorry, it is 10:10 right now. I hope to finish this discussion within 10 to 15 minutes. And then after that, I'll open the floor to an open Q&A, and you can ask whichever question related to the topic that you prefer. So with that said, this is a very important discussion. So Allam al-Hilli says, because if you say that there are only contingent beings, and all of them, they cause one another, you know, A is the cause of B, B is the cause of C, C is the cause of D, and there is no God, there is no wajib al-wujud. Over here, this means in this series, in this chain, every part of this chain is contingent, meaning it can exist, it can't exist, and a contingent being requires an originator. So if we say there is an infinite chain, then this means that there is an infinite chain and each of them requires an originator. And you were saying that one originated the other. So what happens is that the series, the entire chain itself becomes contingent because you are changing the quantity. You are not changing the quality. This is the problem with an infinite regress. In an infinite regress, the problem is that you are saying that everyone is the same and there is an infinite chain. If there is one hungry person or 1,000 hungry people, it doesn't solve the answer to say there's 1,000 hungry people as opposed to one hungry person. What solves the problem is that there is a source for food. When we say that there is one contingent being or 1,000 contingent beings, this doesn't solve the problem. The only thing which solves the problem is that there is a necessary existent who himself is not caused, but he gives cause to every single other thing. So Allam al-Hilli says, if you say that in this chain of mumkinat, everything in the world, if you say there is no wajib al-wujud, then this entire chain, it becomes mumkin. And because a contingent being needs an originator, that means that either the chain is caused by itself, or it is caused by a part of it, or it is caused by something external to it. And this is what I will examine in the next 10 minutes. Now, we need to define what an infinite regress is. If we are going to disprove this idea, then we need to know what it is. The definition of an infinite regress is as follows. An infinite regress is the arrangement of causes and effects in such a way that each preceding entity is the cause of the entity that follows it, and so on. A is the cause of B, B is the cause of C, C is the cause of D. It's until infinity. This is what an infinite regress is saying. An example of this, and I wrote an example, you know, A is the cause of B, which is the cause of C, and so on. This would mean that the series only contains all of existence. And over here, we're saying there's no Allah. Those who say there's no Allah, they say there's no wajib al-wujud. All of existence are in this series, and it is an infinite series. Now we need to demonstrate what is the problem with this. So this has been described as a falsity because each member of the series is contingent. Each member of the series needs a cause. Thus, the quality of the chain as a whole, it becomes contingent because you are just changing the quantity. You are not changing the quality. So anything contingent is in need of an originator. Anything like you and I, all of existence needs an originator. This is a fact which is recognized. So this whole series, it requires an originator. The originator of this chain, the one who created this entire series, everything in existence, one creating another, and no wajib al-wujud. If you say there is no Allah, then you are saying either the chain created itself, either a part of the chain created itself, or something outside of the chain, which is not wajib, which is contingent, created the chain. Each of these three is problematic. The problem with one, of saying that this entire chain of existence, everything in the world without Allah, it created itself, is because we are saying that an entity is the cause of itself. It is necessary for a cause to logically. This entails series is coming before itself, and that which precedes the entity logically must come to existence prior. So the same problem that we had with the circle, essentially what this means, if you say that this chain of existence, that this entire chain of everything in existence without Allah, one thing causing another, caused itself to come into existence, then for something to cause itself, it must come before itself. And to say something comes before itself, that is equivalent to saying that a thing exists and it doesn't exist. That is like saying that I came into this world before coming into this world. And I don't mean in the example of alimud dar or theologically. This example is meant to be taken very simply, that I cannot exist on this earth before I come into existence. And as I said, this example is to be taken simply without intricacies. So that option is self-evidently false. The falsity of the second option is that a part of this series, so if this chain has 1,000,000 existence, you say that a part of it, that 100 of these existence, which are not wajib, which are not Allah, are the cause of this entire chain of creation, one after another. The same problem comes itself that I mentioned previously. For a part to create the chain, then that's as if you're saying that something existed before itself, and for something to exist before itself, to create something, you are saying that it exists and it doesn't exist at the same time. So option 2 is disproven. That leaves us with option 3. Option 3, it says, there are 2 issues with this option. So basically option 3 is saying that every member of this chain, A, B, C, D, its cause is the preceding member and its cause is outside of it as well. So you're saying that A caused B and B caused C and C caused D, but at the same time, there is something which is causing it outside of it. We cannot have 2 causes for one effect, and we cannot have 2 complete causes. And some may say, what about the example of a mother and father coming together to create a child? We say a mother and a father, they do not actually create the child. They are not the complete cause, but they are the preparatory factors which lead towards that existence. So with this demonstrated, if we say that the external originator for each member of this series is a contingent being outside of the series. So you have a series A, B, C, D, E, F. None of them are Allah. None of them are necessary in themselves. But we pose the problem, then the entire series is not necessary. The entire series is contingent. And by definition, something which is contingent, it needs a creator. It needs an originator. So now you're saying that its originator is within the series, A creating B, B creating C, yet its originator is also outside of the series and it is not Allah. This would necessitate the gathering of 2 complete or independent causes for one effect. And that is false because we made the supposition that each member of the series is the cause for the following member. And now we are supposing there is another cause as well. This entails the gathering of 2 complete or independent causes. This is impossible because this would entail that each cause is independent, yet at the same time, it is in need of each other. This leads to 2 contradictories gathering, and I will give you an example of this. The example says, if we say that we have object A, and object A is in this chain of everything in existence, we say object A depends on object B, which is inside of this chain. But at the same time, it depends on object C, which is outside. Then if we say object A doesn't need object B, which is within the chain, then the series isn't infinite. There's a gap in the series. We said that everything is the cause of another. So that is problematic. This is because by definition, a series presupposes the ordering of causes and effects in an infinite manner. But if we say that object A does not need object B, which is outside of the chain, then this contradicts the idea of an originator being external to the chain, which is contingent, which requires an originator. And this option is false. When this is false and circularity is false, by rational deduction, we have come to the conclusion that Allah, He exists, and the existence of Allah is such an existence that Allah depends upon no one, yet everything depends upon Allah. And this is the meaning of the verse of the Holy Quran and Suratul Ikhlas. After Qul huwallahu ahad, we say Allahus Samad. This line, Allahus Samad, what it means is that Allah is self-sufficient. Everyone depends upon Allah, yet Allah does not depend upon anyone for existence. And that it concludes our discussion. And with that said, I will open the floor to questions and answers.
Anybody out there, any questions?
So I have a question.
I know I moved past, number one, the issue was with the time. And number two, I've left a lot of the complexities so our younger audience can benefit as well. And the maximum number of people can benefit. And if somebody wants to read this more in depth, my email address is available. The center will provide my email address. If not, I've written in great depth in this treatise, in this 20-page treatise, which I prepared, and they can read that, and that will be an explanation for a more in-depth discussion. And my apologies, somebody was asking a question. Do we have no questions?
Anyone out there, anything? I guess now that we don't have any questions, we can assume everyone's understanding what's going on.
I have a quick question.
Either they're understanding or they're completely lost.
I have a question. Is there anything to say to like quantum physicists that talk about alternative realities and parallel universes and things that are existing in tandem, so that this universe is not the only universe, there are multiple universes occurring at once? Or is that a separate?
Well, we really need to define what we mean by the term universe. So I can't answer what a universe means in quantum physics because, it's not my area of speciality. I'm not a quantum physicist. But what universe means in theology and in the language of Islamic theology is that everything besides Allah is the universe. So if we use that definition, Alam, then whether there are parallel universes, multiple universes, then all of them come under the category of universe, if we use that definition. But in terms of, parallel universes, in terms of quantum physics, I'll have to admit the limitations of my knowledge, and it's not my field of speciality.
I think you can also touch base with the concept of Allah being the creator of the Alameen. So if the idea behind multiverse is valid, they all needed a creator. They all needed that singularity to begin the process.
Whether there is multiple, see, what the beauty of this demonstration that I showed over here is that what it shows is that everything, kullu shay'in sivallah, everything besides Allah, whether it's one universe, multi-universe, parallel universe, whatever other term they use, everything besides Allah is dependent upon Allah for existence, and Allah is not dependent upon anyone. So I think that this argument, it covers all of those different theories which have been proposed about multiverses and all of that. They come under the umbrella of this proof and discussion.
Well, I think what they're trying to get at is that we say that in this, let's say where we live is a universe, and we have Allah that created this universe. If we admit to that, then is it possible for the same scenario to exist elsewhere? Is there an elsewhere?
So here's the point. Here's the fundamental point. This argument made the assumption, because what we're discussing right now and where the confusion is arising is by the definition of universe. The term universe, which is being used in the theological language, and within this argument, mumkin al-wujud covers everything, whether there's a parallel universe or any other universe. Because all of that, you have two things. You have Allah wajib al-wujud, then you have mumkin al-wujud. These are the only two things there are. There is no third option in the outside world. In the outside world, these are the only two options. So everything in the universe besides Allah, whether it's a separate order of creation, it comes under the category of mumkin al-wujud. So I think the problem which arises is that the definition of universe being used by these physicists is different. But the definition of universe to keep in mind over here is everything besides Allah. And I hope that gives sufficient light on the question which was proposed.
So
Yeah,
I
that
have a
makes sense.
question.
Thank you.
Please, please.
My question is actually the creation itself, right? So we had this example of several gods in the beginning, and this would create borders. So God would be limited. So how is it with the creation itself? Because you separate a different thing from God because it's a separation of God itself.
No, so that when we were speaking about that example, that Burhan, which is found on page 10, that was speaking about the necessary existence. That's for those who say there are multiple gods.
No,
my question. Please
Sorry,
elaborate.
sorry. No, my question is a different one. Like, if you create something, right, you separate it from yourself. So doesn't it create a border by itself too?
Yeah, creation implies separation. And that's why there is at one level, everything is a manifestation of the names of Allah. That is without a doubt. But the more separation from Allah we have, at a practical level, the more evil we see, the more difficulties there are. The more limitation, the more something separates from Allah, the more limitations it has. So this is why in Islamic theology and philosophy, we say that evil is a privation. Evil is the non-existence of good. The more you move away from God, the more that evil it exists over there. So there is a level of separation. So it's like moving up the chain of a hierarchy. The closer one is at that higher level, the less limitations he has.
MashaAllah.
Are there any more questions?
I have a quick question, if you don't.
Please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I guess my question is kind of a different facet of the same discussion.
Yes, please.
So what would you say to someone who arrives at atheism not necessarily by everything that we've been talking about, but something like, if God exists, then why are there little kids who have cancer? Or, things of that nature. I've heard it 1,000 times. And I mean, I have my own answers to those sorts of things. But
Absolutely.
I'm curious to know, like, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, so there's, this is a very common question which is asked, and most of these modern atheists, they use this form of discussion that, if God exists, then why is there evil within the world? And really, this discussion, we really need to define what is evil and what is good. That's very important. We can't have any discussion without definitions. Is something evil just because it's harmful? Or is there some greater purpose behind it? When I go to the gym and my muscles are sore, that pain is not something which is pleasant to me. But would you consider that pain evil? No, you wouldn't consider that pain evil, because that pain, it leads to growth. It leads to something positive which is coming out. So a thing in and of itself, evil in and of itself is not an entity. When you have a knife, the perfection of a knife is to cut. Now, whether you use that knife to cut an orange or you use it to kill a human being, this goes to show in and of itself, it is something which is relative and it doesn't have its existence. When we see so much evil within the world, and mind you, I'm trying to answer this question in 3 to 5 minutes. If not, this is a whole 1 hour discussion, because if you don't go into depth in this discussion, then it leaves some gaping areas which people can take negatively. So what I'm trying to do is present you a summarized form of this discussion, but we can define good as that which leads to the flourishing of the human being, that which leads to the perfection and the kamal of a human being, and evil is an absence of that perfection, an absence of that goodness, an absence of that kamal. So when you have a person who is struggling and he has his pains and trials, whether it's cancer, whether it's something else, then at one level it is elevating that person potentially, and the society which is around him also. We all agree naturally that, you know, many of those individuals who have achieved great things upon this earth, they did it through struggle. And what we need to realize is that the way Allah created this universe, He created it in the most beautiful of ways, the most perfect of ways. And some may reply to me by saying, oh, really? Allah created in the most perfect of ways? Then why are there earthquakes? Why are there people with cancer? Why is all of this going on? But if there weren't these trials, then you wouldn't have the same level of goodness in the universe also. So it was created in a way that it has the most beauty that it can possibly have. But aside from that, to give you a proper answer to this discussion is really a long 30, 40-minute discussion to cover every aspect.
Agreed. Thank you. And I also wanted to, you don't have to cover this because I know you said it's, and I agree, but like, for instance, poverty is different in their minds, at least, from like children in particular having tests or ailments or something like that. So me as an adult having cancer is different from like a kid,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
A kid didn't do anything, a kid didn't sin. So why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or God if we claim?
So I mean, that's another mistake. We think oftentimes trial is because a person sinned. Yes. And that's something which we really need to explain as well. When I have a challenge, when I have a disease, it doesn't just mean that I sinned. Yes, you know, traditions mention that illness, it forgives the sins of a human being, but it is there for a test. And that test is not just for me, but it's for the society. Now, of course, to explain this to a modern atheist like Richard Dawkins or many of these individuals who, when they argue against God, these are the types of things they say. At a certain level, it's very difficult to have this conversation. And really to come to this discussion, first you need to establish the existence of a God. After you establish the existence of a God, then you'll be able to establish his attributes one after another in a logical order, and you'll see that his actions are good. So really, many of these discussions, we try to knock it out in one swing, but really it's a deeper challenge, and it requires many prerequisite discussions to be analyzed before we even come to that point.
Okay. Thank you so much, Saeed.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
I have a question, but it's not related to the lecture today. The earthquakes and the natural calamities like that. According to you, like personally, according to you, what do you think they are? They're just related to causes, like, you know, every cause has an effect, or do you think it comes? Is it an azab? Because we are even suggested to read namazi ayat and stuff like that. So what do you think about it?
I mean, everything in the universe is with the cause and effect. And really, you know, when there is a mu'jiza or a miracle, yes, there are some who come with the school of thought that it breaks the rules of cause and effect, and Allah created cause and effect. But there is a valid school of thought, and this is mentioned by individuals like Nasiruddin Tusi in his famous book, Tajreed al-I'tiqad, which is a famous theological textbook where he says that, things, they remain in cause and effect. But oftentimes there are higher level of causes which we don't understand. So that's one point to keep in mind. But yeah, so to answer that, earthquakes and natural calamities are within the realm of cause and effect. Now, whether an earthquake is happening as a punishment or not, I don't really want to get into that discussion. We cannot say definitively. Yes, we have traditions which speak to the extent that, when certain moral corruption increases, there will be natural calamities. But to point it out and to say this is why this is happening, we are not anbiya, we are not a'imma, we have not been given ilm ladunni. So it is hard to say that definitively.
I have a question if we have time. You mentioned about complete causes.
Yes.
Like with the father and mother example. And so
yes.
I got the impression that you're saying that, each effect can only have a single cause. Just wanted you to elaborate on that.
Yes. So what a complete cause is, let's define complete cause. What complete cause means is that when you have a complete cause, it is wajib for the effect to come after the clause. So when the sun is there, it is necessary, it is a complete cause for the sun, for the rays of the sun to come because the sun is there. But in reality, when a parent comes together, they themselves don't create the child. The parents are what is called al-illatul ista'dadi. They are a preparatory, they make the preparation for the factors to come together for that creation, but they are not the complete cause in that situation.
So what are we saying is, everything has to have a single complete cause?
We are saying that when you have cause and effect, there must be a single cause. And that is what we examine in the argument. Because some people said, if you have an infinite chain, that A creates B, and B creates C, and C creates D, then there must be a source, a creator for the chain. And if you say there's no Allah, and that creator comes outside the chain, then you're saying that A was created by B. A is the cause of B. Yet at the same time, that there's something else which is the cause of it also. So then the question comes up, okay, you said it's a complete cause, then why does it need two causes? If it needs both of those causes, then it's incomplete by itself. By definition, it's a contradiction. So that is what we were alluding to. And this is something which I discussed in page 9. If you look at page 18, I believe. Page 18 and page 19, I discuss this in great detail. And it mentions a further explanation, and it mentions the introductory explanation. I didn't cover all of it in the discussion, but if you read that, I feel it would be a sufficient answer.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Okay, so my question is basically, okay, so in this discussion, you've mentioned that the original cause is a creator, right? And from that, everything follows. Now, would we be, because from what I've understood throughout life is that we cannot imagine Allah, right? He's beyond our imagination.
Yes, and we have traditions to the effect that when it comes to the essence of Allah, do not even, what the essence of God is, laysa kamithlihi shay. There's
Correct.
none like him.
Agreed. Now, with that being said, would it not be fair to understand that that original cause that led everything to begin is apart from Allah? Meaning that Allah would have eventually, I'm not sure if I'm wording it right.
No, so are you alluding to the fact as, what created Allah?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying is that Allah was obvious, Allah being the original creator, but when it comes to this physical world, when it comes to this, as we say, alam, or this universe,
Yes.
the original creation is apart from Allah.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that is what we're saying. We're saying that you have Allah, which is wajib al-wujud, but then you have mumkin al-wujud as well. And, you know, there is a very deeper connection between all of existence in terms of Allah and the relation. The relation between the universe and God is a separate discussion, and there's a lot of different things which come under this discussion. For example, the nature of the first creation, which is, you know, according to some traditions, the aql, according to some traditions, the qalam, according to traditions, the nur of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So that itself is another discussion, which is apart from what we were discussing today.
Yeah, okay. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
But I think what the brother is trying to ask is that first creation, whatever it is, let's say it is the nur of the independent being, independent being created dependent being. That first dependent being was created from a part of the dependent being, or the material for the creation of the first independent being came into existence by themselves, by the order of the dependent being.
No, so according to this argument, with everything in a logical order, is that the first being did not come in by itself. Even the first being is dependent upon wajib al-wujud. If the nur of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, even the blessed reality of the Prophet, which is the highest order of all realities, and by extension, the reality of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and Fatimatul Zahra salamullahi alayha, even they, in their essence, they remain in need of wajib al-wujud. But that is not to say that their reality is like our reality. We can't go to that extreme either. They are that perfect manifestation of the asma and the attributes of Allah, as Imam as-Sadiq says, Nahnu asma Allah al-husna. You find the reality of nur and light is in their creation. So to answer that question, at one level, yes, they are dependent on wajib al-wujud. There is no doubt within that. There is no doubt within that. But we can never say that the reality of Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt, speaking from a different angle, is like our reality. There's one question on the thread as well. You mentioned that God is existence. Does that mean that we don't really exist? Now we're getting into different questions which are more philosophical in nature, but you find existence has different levels. You know, when you have light, there is gradation in light. You have the light of the sun. You have the light of a candle. You have the light which flickers on and off. All of them are light, but there are different levels. Allah is complete existence. Allah is wujud. Allah is that totality of existence. We have existence as well, but it is of a lower level, and our existence also, when we speak of our existence, we're using it in a different sense as opposed to Allah, because Allah is wajib al-wujud and we are mumkin al-wujud from that angle. So there's different angles to look at discussions. There's not always one angle. So with that said, I believe as we approach 10:45, I think at this point we should conclude. With that said, we'll end with a dua. Oh Allah, we ask through the rights of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, the ones who are the ultimate guides towards your ma'rifah, the ones without whom we would not know who you are, that, oh Allah, guide us to knowing you, guide us to knowing your Prophet, and guide us to knowing your imams, to the imams of Ahlul Bayt. We pray for those who are sick and ailing in the universe. We pray for those who are afflicted by this global pandemic this global disease which is going on everywhere, and we pray for the hastening of the reappearance of the master of our time. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Thank you so much, Brother Bilal. Just a reminder, tomorrow's speech will be at 7:30, and it will go a few minutes before Maghrib. So please join us back at 7:30 tomorrow. Inshallah, we will have a majlis tomorrow at 7:30. At the end, I would like to request Brother Muhammad Kadiwal to please recite the ziyarah.
No ayah.
Ziyarat now?
Yeah, yes, please.
No ayah. No ayah.
Sallallahu alayka ya Rasul Allah.
Sallallahu alayka ya Habib Allah. Sallallahu alayka ya Khatam al-Anbiya wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. السلام عليك يا علي يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى وارث أمير المؤمنين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر لحد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين على أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبو الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين وقاسم بن الحسن ومسلم بن عقيل وهاني بن أروى وحبيب بن مظاهر وحر بن يزيد الرياحي. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة القائم ابن الحسن المهدي. يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. أسألك يا سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان وشر الشيطان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل مخرجك وظهورك، واجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك والمستشهدين بين يديك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كن وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. صلوات.